Thank you very much. Again, my name is CoreySchwartz, work at Barr Engineering right now. Like I said, that was kind of last minute thing, kind of put some stuff together, kind of get a history of this stuff, but kind of topic we can cover, talk about the second form on thin film, quite a bit of experience on thin film, so, and Ken thin film work in Minnesota. It seems like a lot of people that I've been talking with lately, just moved back to Phoenix about 3 months ago, so that don't have much experience in thin film, so it's been very interesting. So, all right, please feel free anytime to stop and ask questions. I think, like I said, I'm talking to a lot of people. It'd be great to get to know what you guys are thinking, to be able to expand this topic and understand a little more of why people get to what people's impressions of thin film are, and what you guys are seeing, and what you guys think can really happen. So, generally tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about me, what my background is, what I've been doing, some important cons, pros and cons that I see important with thin film when I've worked in the industry for a couple of years. My application experience and where I see the industry going. Because I know when I started, it was really kind of hitting the bottom, and it really ramped up for the couple of years that I was there, and it was just going crazy. And it seems like it's going that way now too, especially with all the developments that are happening in Minnesota. So, very exciting things. It's me. Somebody wants to put a picture of me up there, so it's beautiful. All right, so I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering from North Dakota State University. Doing my IT. I have 8 years experience, so I have electrical engineering experience. I've worked 6 years as a consultant. I started out with an small engineering firm in Prairie, doing heavy industrial power solutions. And then I ended up moving to Phoenix for 5 years. My wife got into dental care, so we moved to Phoenix, and we were there. And I ended up working for solar for a couple of years down there. Now she ended up taking a job in beautiful Minnesota. So now I went from extreme to extreme, literally. It's been a good change. So I'm happy to be back in Minnesota. So let's give you a little overview of like Barr, because I think Barr really helped me when I came back to this market, kind of opened me up to coming back into the renewable things, because I enjoy working in the solar field. I think there's a lot of interesting work going on. I think there's a lot of interesting work that people can be doing, and it's very interesting. I'm going to share with you a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff's going to be utility talk, because that's what I was involved in. But everything is scalable down to residential, water heaters, different things like that, because I understand that they're coming from the Southwest. We're building huge plants, 5 megawatts, 550 megawatts, where here, coming down a little bit smaller. A lot of people are using residential, and I guess there's solar panels on the roof here. So, those applications are definitely here in Minnesota, and I see that more in this type of environment. Again, I've worked at Barr for about 3 years, but these are some of the industries that we go through: power, fuels, mining, manufacturing, natural resource management organizations. So some of the key client sectors that we're handling. And this all kind of this really ties together, because, these things happen. When you build solar plants, you do anything, you really have to look at environmental regulations, permitting, different things like that. So you can see that Barr is been in those fields, and have always been in those fields doing that stuff. Engineering design service, so they design the service. You got to put together electrically how you're going to connect everything, how you're going to tie it into your house, how you're going to tie it into a grid, how you're going to tie it into a system. Things like that. It's all things that Barr goes through and does. Back one there. Okay, water resource management. This is big too. You tear up the ground. What's going to happen? You need to mitigate what's going to happen, erosion, so that you're not wrecking the wetlands or anything around there. Again, things that Barr has done. Interesting things, all things that made me want to come when I moved back to the village to try to find somebody where I can keep working in solar, somebody like Barr. They do have experience, 40 years experience in hydro. They've done 40% of the turbines, wind foundations in the country. They've done solar projects, utility scale solar projects for some clients, and and some lighting construction. All things I didn't know until I was involved, but it's interesting. All right, so on to what I've been doing, and I'll try to keep this kind of broad overview. Again, I work with First Solar as a performance engineer. They are either number one or number two in the world as far as a utility scale model manufacturing solar home or solar plant developer. They're huge. They're building plants all the time all over the world. But as a performance engineer, there are four main areas that we kind of energy modeling, engineering support, PV plant acceptance testing, and long-term plant performance analysis. So energy modeling. Energy modeling basically relates to how plants or how a system is going to produce on the grid and what your payback is, right? So we would build models and say, take it to a bank and say, hey, will you fund us, X amount of dollars to build this plant? These are important things because the bank has to be comfortable with it, understand that they're making a wise investment and that they're going to get the return on the money that they have spent. So we're doing that, we were doing it on rooftop applications, but a lot more applications as far as utility scale things, so large scale plants. Engineering support. We provided a lot of feedback, a lot of performance related issue feedback back to engineering on how to make systems better, more, how do I say this, more optimized. We really want to optimize every single system so that in whatever climate that we worked in, we worked in all sorts of climates from the Southwest all the way up to Canada, how those systems would perform and how we could maximize the dollar and make it better. And then PV plant acceptance testing was basically just that, right? You large scale utility or even a smaller scale, you're going to have something that's going to say, okay, how do I know that this plant is performing or this system is performing at what you sold? If you sold me a 10 kilowatt system, how do I know that it's performing at 10 kilowatts? We would be the group that would, show them or provide the testing, the data analysis to prove that the acceptance testing was successfully met within these contracts. And then obviously long-term plant performance analysis is just that. We would monitor these things, watch these things, send out work orders to always make sure that these systems are working as designed and making sure that they're meeting their commitments and making sure that you're seeing the best performance, plans out there on the market. So all things like that. What we did now, or what First Solar uses, they use thin film technology, and that's a lot of people are interested in here. Obviously, what I'm talking about. How many of you know anything about thin film technology, how it's built? So thin film technology is basically two pieces of glass, basically stuck together by a very thin layer of semiconductor. You're not even raising the glass up. It's basically two pieces of glass put together. And you have some magnetic strips in that. I have some pictures of but coming up here. But it's very simple, it's very easy, it's lightweight, no edges, no nothing like that. Again, I worked on plants from 5 to 550 megawatts. So utility scale is rivaling, the 550s are rivaling, regular coal generation plants, new plants, things like that. So they're pretty amazing systems, and they're relatively very quiet. I worked in plants Southwest U.S., Middle East, Australia, and obviously in Canada. Canada was a very important one, working on about 50 megawatts of plants there. Just recently in, I want to say around the first of 2012, January 1st of 2012, I was on some plants up in Canada. Beautiful winter to spend up trying to do a solar plant in Canada. So here's some pictures of you can kind of see the back of those modules. It's very thin, basically two pieces of glass, very thin. Has some backs, has some connectors on there. There's no edges. What the things that I have seen that I think are pros and cons, and as performance engineers, we would analyze the entire systems from, our technology, which was primarily CAD-TEL, but we would also look at silicon, okay? Because, First of all, we're always interested in knowing what was the competitor doing, how were they optimizing their systems, how can we always optimize our systems better.
A lot of people think of solar PV as silicon, so could you kind of elaborate a little bit on thin film and how that's different from silicon for those here that?
How it's different? So it's basically, it's a
little different chemistry.
Right, it is. It's a different type. Silicon is using monocrystalline, basically semiconductor. It's using different types of the entire process of it, but they use wafers and different things to build their panels. Those panels, what I've seen can range anywhere from like 250 watts to right around 300 watts for each panel. A little bit bigger in size. First solar panel, this thin film panel that First Solar makes is about 3 feet by 4 feet wide, okay? And maybe it's probably less than a half inch thick.
So it's 800 watts?
Okay, wattage, yeah, so, good point. And I have some more stuff on that, but it's what they're doing now is anywhere between 90 and 95 watts on one of these panels. So a silicon panel is about though twice the size in total size. It's a lot thicker. It's probably an inch or 2 inches thick is what some of the ones I've seen, and then you get the and then they're big, they're about 4 to 8. So size-wise, they're a little bigger. So there's different things like that go into it. So you can tell that they're producing less, lower wattage modules, but their size. You start comparing sizes and different things like that. It gets to be a little bit goofy, but that's okay. So anyways, pros and cons. Some of the things thin film has a superior temperature rating coefficient. So what I mean by that is broad view is that the typical cell temperatures are measured by MREL. MREL, how many of you know MREL? MREL does testing, and they have guidelines as far as how you measure efficiency in cells, right? So the MREL publishes a test that you can do things to know how to test for cells. Well, thin film produces about, or they lose less power, about half an inch or so than what silicon does. So what you're seeing is temperature coefficients. As your modules heat up, you're losing power, okay? So polar climates, you're producing what your nameplates are, and most of them are rated tested about 25 degrees C, 77 degrees Fahrenheit, so for model temperature. And as you cool down, you're gaining a little bit of power. So there's those two contrasts back and forth. So that's one advantage.
So about a quarter of a volt per degree C, something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's 20.25. I can't think minimal impact from shading. This will be monocrystalline. If you shade a silicon module in the landscape position, the way that it's built, you will actually not have the module turn on or turn the module off. So you have to be very careful about shading silicon modules. Whereas thin film modules have the ability to be shaded and produce power almost up to their point of what they're waiting for. So it's one advantage that you see, selling point from thin film to silicon. Frameless. So this is a big thing. You have a frameless mounting thing on the thin film. So as snow builds up on it, it'll slide right off. Right? There's no, it's just a piece of glass, heats up and makes us that surface slippery, and it's just everything will lost, all the snow or whatever, dirt or anything will wash right off. So that's definitely an advantage. And the cost. The cost of thin film, doing research on, has been that the cost is a lot cheaper to buy a thin film module compared to a monocrystalline module. Which kind of relates to some of the cons that I have up here. Space-constrained areas. So one of the things one of the issues that you see a lot of times is why people don't use thin film is because you can get more watts into a certain space, you know, with silicon technology compared to thin film. So if you get more space right now, you know, as you know, at this current day, to use to use thin film compared to silicon, which means that basically, which relates to my final point there, which is lower efficiency. Lower efficiency, basically the panels when they do their testing, the MREL testing, our efficiency is a lot less. I think thin film, which is using the CAD test, which is again the biggest one out there. Thin film is like about 18.4%, I think, and then the silicon is somewhere in the 20s. So you got a substantial difference.
Can you repeat that? You say cadmium telluride gets up to 18%?
18.4 on the cell efficiency. So MREL rates it on cell efficiency, so it's like 18.4, I think is the last I heard.
Okay, higher than I thought.
Yeah.
Is that the limit that's being produced?
That's a tested and certified limit that they have for these.
Is that typical in a commercial module? 18%?
Is it typical in what you see on, well, for cell, I don't know what they're producing on the line. So, I don't know.
But the module and the cell difference here.
Right. So inside of, right, exactly. And inside the module, there's a whole bunch of cells, right? So you have losses through your cells, so you're probably negating how much you're actually propagating out of the actual cell. I have to go back and look and see what they publish for percents and efficiency percents on.
I missed that. What did you say the efficiency was? What cadmium telluride?
It's for cell level CAD tell thing. So each cell, it's around 18.4%.
And module level?
I don't know. It's less than that. I'm guessing between 12 and 15, probably. I'd have to look and see.
I heard lower than that. That's why I'm surprised to hear you say 18. But you're talking about cell, and what I've seen is specs on modules. I've heard much lower than that, maybe half or 2/3 lower. But I'm not as familiar with the thin film modules.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head exactly what it is. I know it's higher than half of that, so yeah. I know it's above 10, probably above 12. But I have to look it up. Yeah.
Can you please speak to disposal best practices when they reach the end of their service life for CAD-TEL modules?
Oh, how to take care of them?
Exactly.
Sure, it's a what?
Cadmium is toxic.
Well, I believe only in the state of California right now.
About the law.
So, correct. So I can talk about what I know. Again, I'll talk about the fact that I know First Solar has a recycling program that they have with their modules. How it works, I'm not sure. I was going to be part of that. So, but I do know that they publish and they promote a recycling program, and they're supposed to they have I think a 25-year warranty on modules, so they have a 25-year life. After that, I believe they recycle the rest of their modules. So.
Historically, thin films have been put on non-tempered glass, and because of the problems of laminating 2 layers and other things. Have they overcome that problem, or are they still on non-tempered glass?
Good question. I don't know exactly. So I couldn't tell you exactly what all the components of if they're non-tempered glass or tempered glass. I'd have to look that one up. I'm not sure.
Typically in a silicon module, you have a kind of characteristic size like 60 cell, 72 cell, 96 cell that are common.
Sure.
How many cells are in a typical CAD-TEL module?
There is, oh man, I knew this once. Because the cells are straight across, up and down, and they keep changing. They change them because they keep making them thinner.
I mean, you have like a ballpark idea?
I want to say it's around 84.
Okay.
If I can remember right, but yeah.
And what did you say the dimensions were on that?
It's 1200 millimeters by 600 millimeters, which is 3 by 4, I believe. 3 to 4 feet. All the, I mean, like, a lot of information is available on this whole website too.
Yeah, I mean, you could follow up perspection.
Correct, yeah.
I think with thin film, I think of a more flexible surface, not necessarily glass. Things like, I have a set of headphones at home I can listen to outside. I see things like the Army have tents with thin film on it. I just recently saw an advertisement, and I think it's still in the works by Ford, it's a C-Max energy vehicle. I don't know if it's thin film or if it's silicone. Can you speak to thin film and the transportation industry?
Utility scale power plants. So, I actually have,
So roughly speaking, dollars per watt if you use that lens. I know there's lots of advantages, different ways that work, but what do you get? And what is the output in dollars and cents?
in terms of your, I mean, it's the power system, right?
Like watts, and you say you have these mega power plants, or effectively a mega power plant, that what do you get for dollars per watt installed and output, how many watts?
I was not part of finance, I know, they won't tell us that much information. Okay, so, go on here.
I've heard that First Solar is the world's largest solar manufacturer, is that accurate?
Yes, I said there were 1 or 2, it keeps going back and forth, I believe, between them and Sun Power.
Some part of it would be
No, sorry, thin film, sorry, I misunderstood you, yes, correct, they are the world's largest thin film manufacturer, yes. They produce like games like
Have they done
probably. That's, what happened when I was there. Yes, they were in Europe, they actually have a plant in Germany, so I would imagine. Yeah.
Does First Solar do other things like this?
Other than those, no, strictly
Just got it out there.
Yep. Yep. All right, so some of my application experience, interesting stuff here. I'm going to go through 2 examples, Desert Southwest and then Canada. I found, and all these pictures I found as well, but I thought that was interesting because it's totally covered by snow. It's usually not a good power producing thing there, so. So I'll start with Desert Southwest. Desert Southwest, obviously, steady climate conditions. It's hot, sun, dry, minimal precipitation. 6 to 8 inches of rain a year. Makes for interesting things on panels, all types of technologies, obviously. One thing you saw a lot is you see a lot of soiling panels. When people talk about soiling and panels in the desert stuff, they talk about getting dirt on there, right now washing them off, things like that. You get the boobs down there, they don't do the boob, you have to do that. By the way, it's a pretty interesting experience because it's just like a cloud of dust, just shit. But it's crazy. And then and then obviously you have the high temperatures, right? Better performance due to the high temperatures, but the temperature coefficient that they have coming out here. So probably the optimal climate for what types of solar plants probably can be built in, because you have sun 99% of the time. You see very little rain, and it's hot, it's dry, and there's lots of land, open land built down there. So it's a good area to build. I also had experience, about 50 megawatts of experience in Canada. Those are very similar conditions. Those southern Ontario, very similar conditions to what you would see in Minnesota here. High variability in climatic conditions. You get a lot of rain, a lot of snow. It's very cold there. It can get very cloudy, which is, for a solar plant, very interesting because when you get a high overcast of clouds, you lose a lot of energy production, right? Or if you cover it with snow, you're losing a lot of energy production. So you have to weigh your options and understand how things, what technologies work best for what climates they are. Funny thought is that middle picture there with all the snow, we have a plan. Actually, it snowed the night before into the night, overnight. We got there in the morning. There's about 3 or 4 inches of snow had probably fallen, so the panels were fully covered like that. By 9 a.m., they were completely clear. So they will heat up, they will drop the snow relatively fast. It's pretty amazing if you put them at the right angle, make sure you have enough space, make sure you have the right mounting structure, they will perform the way that you want to in full climates.
Is that due to the framelessness of the module?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely helps. Definitely, yeah. It's your structure, your framing structure, how you put it together. You obviously you can put, I've seen frames on structures, I've seen frameless structures, so it depends on what type of framing structure they use. But go ahead.
How do you attach them when they're frameless? So it's the clamp just on like a circuit module, you
Sure. So these ones, the ones that I've seen, you can see a lot of pictures of them. If you just Google it, you'll see they have like it's a clamp. It's a rubber clamp on the top and the bottom on two of them on both sides. They basically slide them like that. They just hook them that way. It's a mechanism for the module in there.
Do you use microinverters if, let's say, a part that's covered with snow and you still get the benefit of the other ones, or do you just use the inverter?
It's a regular inverter, and the advantage, like I was talking about with thin film is if you have some of the modules covered by snow, and you get the inverter up to the right voltage, you will produce power down to the grid. So thin film produces a little bit better. When modules are covered, shaded, different things like that, so you get that higher advantage of having a little bit of snow on here, where it's still if you cover them, you're probably going to shut them off, and they're not going to work as well. So thin film will actually work if they have partially covered with snow. So until they actually clear totally.
But do you know if the modules are mounted with the cells vertical in those photos?
They're landscaped. So they are, yes, the cells are vertical. Yes.
Cells are vertical.
Yeah, they're so the panel's landscape, and the cells are up and down on the panel. So, yeah. So, and you can shade, that's why I was saying you can shade them, because then you're shading across all the cells. So if you shade them, then you're not cutting off the power on the first order module. So it's definitely interesting. I want to talk about some things that I found really interesting. Thoughts on the PV market, because I think coming from the desert Southwest, they're really pushing a lot of plants down there. California's got a big initiative for like 20 or 30% by some data, I believe. And Arizona has all the plants, and so does Nevada down in that area. And with the new recent developments of what's happening in Minnesota, you see the market kind of trending up here. So it's very interesting to see what's happening and what I kind of lived through during those 2 years there. Because we were, again, everything that I feel has been going on in the solar industry has been very cutting edge. I mean, everything's cutting edge because there's not many people with experience in it. There's not many people being figuring out new problems that are always happening. So it's very, very interesting. But I think some of the things people need to realize too is and I don't want to sound like I'm just pro thin film 100%, but I think you really need to analyze what type of technology makes sense for your application and what your purpose of putting together on what type of system you're putting together, what makes sense. Is it putting thin film on there? Is it utilizing thin film, or is it using silicon or something like that? You have to go through analysis and understand what it is. We would do these analysis on the large plants and try to really understand how do we compete with other people and how do we make it. If we have plant space constraints, if we have climatic conditions, what makes an advantage to us, what makes a disadvantage to us, what makes us, better, what happens. Manufacturing warranties, I mean, my understanding there's not too many silicon module manufacturers out there maybe offering warranties. I'm not 100% sure on that because it's not one of my expertise, but I think looking at manufacturer warranties, who's standing behind the product to tell you that it's a pretty good thing?
For a consumer in Minnesota, what applications do you think make thin film kind of the better choice? There's certain,
I guess I'm not really sure about this.
are there like specific projects that you think would be best done using thin film as opposed to silicone PE?
To be honest, I would have to sit down and weigh out all the options of what you're trying to build. If you're looking for strictly a rooftop application, I don't know. I mean, it depends on how big a rooftop you are, right? What's your goal? Again, I think you're really trying to look at one of our points there is trying to get out is what's your goal? Are you just trying to put it on the roof to make it look pretty so that you need something, or are you trying to actually make it as a viable investment? You know,
In my understanding, this cost per watt is often lower on thin film.
it is.
So if you have more space, you put up more modules and you're going to get a lower cost of installation. If you got limited space, you might want to get more power density with a higher efficiency module like silicone.
Sure, yeah, and those are things you have to weigh, right? That's kind of what I was talking about, is you have to weigh all those things in order to understand what is the best application.
That was a third element to me, so I'm curious if there are what other considerations than efficiency that it might be like. For example, you said that it works better with diffuse light rather than direct. I mean, silicon is pretty much direct beam radiation. So, like on an overcast day, do you have can you give some idea how much power it'll put out if you have a watt? Do you get like half a watt or do you get zero on an overcast day?
Oh, no, okay, depending upon the situation, I mean, we would see, lots of different things when I was working there. I mean, you would definitely see that they would operate. It depends on how heavy of overcast it is, how much, diffuse light is there. There's a paper out, I think somebody produced a paper on spectral shift. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you're talking about diffuse light, you might want to read the spectral shift paper on thin film. It's pretty interesting.
An MRES publication? Are you talking about an MRES publication?
It might have been an MRES, yeah. It's a white paper on thin film and spectral shift, which has to do with moisture content in the environment. So, and how modules perform better to that. It's kind of the same type of thing. There's a lot of variability. I'll say a lot of variables in a system that can make a system better or worse. I mean, you can oversize cables, you can undersize cables, you can do a lot of different things. You can put it at the wrong tilt, you cannot face it to the south. You can, put an azimuth on it that is facing to the southwest more than what you need. So you really, again, there's so many variables in there. I think you really have to do your due diligence on figuring out what it is that you want and what your goal is, and then sit down and start analyzing each one of the things and do a one-to-one comparison almost on it, apples to apples, to see if it makes sense and what makes sense. So, I think, PV plants are proving to be viable technology. I think you're seeing this. I definitely think that this is a scalable technology that you will see. I mean, even on more rooftops, you're going to see more utility stuff. You're going to see, people using them for whatever, and other types of large meters, heating their, pools in Arizona. I would assume pretty soon. But you have, things that make it viable. Grid integration systems. Grid integration systems are systems that can control plants. If you have a cloud on part of your plant or you're covered, things like that can wrap up inverters and do things like that. Again, that's utility scale stuff, but you can still have integration systems on smaller systems or smaller systems throughout communities. If you have communities that have a lot of rooftop systems, maybe one house or one town is covered with clouds, how do you control all those things to keep your grid stable within that neighborhood. Weather forecasting and plant outputs, that's pretty cutting edge stuff that's starting to happen where people are coming up and forecasting days ahead and telling utilities that they can, hey, we can tell you how much energy are we going to produce tomorrow, within the 95% range. So that's stuff that's happening out there. Improved panel efficiencies. This has really been kicking in, I will say, in the last 3 years. I think you're really seeing, if you pull up this MREL chart that has a lot of information on it, but if you look at it, you can see how thin films really uptick in the last couple of years. There's more money put into research, and research is really looking at how to make the technology better. I think that's a good thing, because that's only driving the cost, hopefully driving the cost down, to make it more affordable for a lot more people to use and use on your house. Yeah.
Do the ability to blow that chart up.
Correct, we can look at it, yeah, probably.
And that's, each car is a different TV technology. Right?
Yeah, you can see there's a ton, but they also list on there, like thin film CGIS, which, as you probably all have heard, that technology was installed, well, it wasn't not a viable technology yet, so, for on cost per watt type of thing.
One of the things that I heard from a guy that I know is a chemist said that one of the problems that Cylindra had was it uses rare earth metals, and they got quite a bit more expensive all of a sudden unexpectedly, so that really kind of hurt the bottom line.
Yeah.
And cadmium's not a rare earth metal. I don't really know much about telluride. I mean, is that a rare earth metal?
I don't know. That's a good question for.
Richard here is a chemist. He said no.
No.
Yeah, I was thinking it was oxygen.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to say that you said cadmium's toxic, so is tellurium.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
It's like we're only in California.
It's only a rock. That's what most of that thing that we're talking So far, that's the states are actually. But even though I was thinking California coming across the country, so it'll be coming here. Obviously, process systems are becoming more affordable, and like the time to build these plants are becoming, are huge advantage to building a utility scale, but we're having utility scale compared to building a new plant, a coal-fired turbine plant, things like that. So these things can pop up in 3 to 5 years, where new plants could take 20 years based on permitting and different things like that. So longer. Or coal-fired plants can take longer than that. So definitely advantages to solar plants. Again, I don't think it's necessarily the only technology out there that we should be using for power. Long-term monitoring, maintenance, making sure that your overall plant maintenance is taken care of. These pictures online is pretty interesting. You have weeds growing through your panels. How do you know that your plant's producing power at that, or you have broken modules, or things like that, and all that relates to what I would call DC health of the system, right? DC health, all PV modules are so how healthy is it? You can't hear if your module is producing power, right? You can only hear the inverter. You can't hear modules they're humming, going, okay, it's making power. It's more the module sitting over there just kind of doing its thing, and you don't know unless you walk over there maybe with an amp meter and check it to see if it's actually working. So most people don't go over and check it, and if you are a large-scale plant, you have somewhere between 1 million, 5 million panels, or more than that. So
Would it be web-based? My panels are on web page, so I can check it with that work.
with every single every single panel monitored? Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So you microinverters on every panel. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So when you start thinking about that, and you start scaling those systems up to however big your system is, and you scale it up to a megawatt, the cost of that system now just grew exponentially. So that's where I guess it's again I'm talking towards utility scale stuff, but when you start getting down into smaller systems, doing things like that definitely helps and makes a big difference. So that was a question. Sorry, she was saying she can pull up a web-based thing based on using microinverters. So she can pull up and check to see if each module is working. So check her microinverter, see if it's producing power. Each panel has a microinverter on it, so she knows that the panels are working properly and making sure that
I would guess that there aren't any microinverters that are designed for thin film, because the voltages are too low. Yeah, maybe, for example, Enphase doesn't like to use anything less than 60 cell module or anything.
215.
Okay.
Yeah, they got 190.
The 250s can,
215s, they work at 60 cells.
yeah.
It's a 190, they were 190.
Okay.
Yeah, not developers, but the, small scale micro.
Anything from, doesn't microinverter, 10 cell module?
I don't know, I have to check on the one name, but I think the interface.
Mary says no.
No, 90 to 95 watts.
No, depends on what.
And, I mean, sometimes, like for power one, their microinverters is a different cable that they can sell.
But,
What about battery systems? I'm assuming this is grid tied, but do you have any battery storage?
no, and a lot of that has to do with cost. I mean, everything comes down to cost. What are you gonna pay for a system and what do you want? Do you want batteries? You pay for the batteries, but, you start sticking batteries into a system, probably your cost of your system's gonna go skyrocket up pretty quick, so. But utility scale, no, they don't.
Well, you can, doesn't matter whether you're using silicon or thin film to charge the batteries. It's basically, PV is a battery charger for the
Right.
system.
Yeah.
And your batteries are what's running it.
Right. On small systems, and that's what my comment, basically, she was asking if they were using them on utility scale projects.
Oh, utility scale.
Yeah, and they don't. Yeah. Then film. I think I can work in Minnesota, of course. I just think there's applications for everything, and doing due diligence again is what makes, the product in return the best to do.
The systems that you worked on and stuff, were most of those owned by private development companies and then sell them to the utility, or did the utilities actually?
So First Solar is a developer, and then they build plans for private investment people. So, yeah.
But no utilities are actually owning the big systems.
Yeah, I think there were some utilities that would, yeah. I mean, there's some municipal utilities that would do things like that, so.
Part of the conversation we hear nowadays is that maybe utilities will get into building more of their own systems kind of thing. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think there's probably the need for a developer to suggest those systems to them, and things like that, I would think. That's what I've seen.
Do you have any community solar gardens?
Everything was, yes, privately owned. Large, again, 5 megawatts to 550 megawatts, so everything was, privately owned by people.
Do we have income anywhere in Minnesota?
I don't know, I definitely did, and we used to.
I got that at my house.
Yeah, they say, Green Institute, how many mountains are there? Put them on the.
Yeah, 800 right there?
880, thin film, they just took them out, replacing them next spring.
With what?
With less space, we can do 3 times the power.
There'll be silicon in the next one.
What technology are you using? I mean,
It was the millennials from, Solar Edison.
Solar is 43 watts.
what wattage?
43.
Wow.
Well, that's what they were. How long ago was that, 20 years ago?
2003, wasn't it? What? 2004? The winter 2004, the winter 2003.
3 and 4. Okay, around that agreement.
How long have they been in the field, in fields in general?
I counted on First Solar, I want to say, they were some of their first, well, I shouldn't say that, some of the, in the U.S., I believe their first one in the U.S. was around 2007, 2008. I know they were working in Europe. I think Europe was a big market to start with, so, yeah. I think it's been a while. It's actually, the company's been around since like 1970s.
I remember seeing like video and it's in film technology, and I think, I want to say the company was Helios, but that's not the right name. Where they were constructing it on the site, and they were just rolling out materials and layers. Oh, wow. And, anybody, do you know something about that? No. So, in other words, they would make the whole rooftop, the solar collector.
Oh, wow. That was Nano Solar's approach.
Okay, and that didn't survive?
Didn't survive, the panels failed in a few years.
Okay. But that was another thing, some technology, you know what it was for? Was it
That's
six?
what's on the Science Museum?
Yeah, Science Museum.
Well, that's actually a stainless steel sheet with the deposit of the thin film on top and then a Teflon layer over the top of that.
So that's silicon.
Now, how that's right?
Amorphous.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
It was on the Science Museum website, can't you, get the spreadsheet? I worked at Solar Saturday there like 3 or 4 years ago. It was one of my first things, and I was taking pictures of all kinds of stuff because I'd never seen any of that stuff before. And when you go on the Science Museum website, they had a spreadsheet that was updated, and NREL was supposedly using that data to measure those over the years. And I was just fascinated by the whole process. They didn't know.
On the Science Museum website?
Yeah. It's that solar house down below, right?
And I think teachers on, it uses more energy than it uses. That's one of their claim to fame of the Science Museum.
But they use it.
oh, that's,
Yeah, it's one of the use. The school teachers.
yeah, that's useful.
That's the role of the business.
There's a professor Solo at MIT who has developed, who has patents and so forth, and private company, developing batteries for utility scale things. He says if you need something as cheap as dirt, you've got to make it out of dirt. So economists are finding very large batteries. Does anyone here know, have you ever heard of that?
They made a shipment, the container they manufactured in China. They shipped the container back here for people to test. And a car-sized battery, it's going to cost $1,000, so I ordered one. And then I got an email a bit later that the batteries were in high demand and the price had gone to $2,000. I was still interested, and I said yes. And then I got another email, the price had gone up again, and I said no. But they haven't. The data, if it performs like they say it performs, it's going to be a breakthrough.
They claim it's a big breakthrough, but I just wonder if
What kind of battery technology is it?
We have a megawatt battery down in Slayton, Minnesota.
That's lithium.
Yeah, that's about the size of a semi. Down in Slayton.
Is that right, Martin?
Yeah, they testing, the whole project was to see how wind power at night and sun power during the day could balance, and there's some backup applications that open the
So they could put up 2 megawatts.
Is that a solar battery?
I think so.
I don't know.
I can't remember what it is either. I got specs on it. You're welcome to talk to Corey Moss.